Let's go out there to Tuscaloosa, see what's cooking. And we're joined now by Aaron Suttles, Alabama beat man for the Tuscaloosa News. Aaron, Happy New Year. How are you, pal?
Hey, guys. Happy New Year to you, too.
No doubt. Back at you. So, listen, you spent a lot of time around Lane. Obviously, you got off the rails a little bit here at the end. Some spotty play calling. Obviously, trying to juggle two incredibly pressurized endeavors. One very public and then one behind the scenes with Florida Atlantic. Try to get them going. What's the real deal? What happened between him and Saban?
I think Saban has just reached his limit with Lane Kiffin. I'll look back on this someday and be amazed they made it work for 3 years. I don't necessarily think it was contentious, but I just think it was a relationship that was no longer beneficial to both parties, and they decided just to move on. But I'll tell you this, the release statement Alabama put out yesterday that it was a mutual decision. Okay. It's your buddy who's dating that really attractive girl, and then all of a sudden they're not dating anymore, and he tells you it was a mutual decision. Mm-hmm. It was not mutual.
Yeah.
The attractive girl broke up with your buddy, and he's just trying to save face.
Now, how was this? Now, you talk about the relationship, and we just had the same conversation. Like, it felt like, two mismatched people trying to work together, but they did make it work. Is that a testament to Saban for being, accepting of something that's, anti-him, or is it just the brilliance of Lane Kiffin as a coordinator? Because we do know he is a good coordinator.
It's a mixture of both. I think you have to give Nick Saban credit because Lane's a very strong personality, and Nick was not intimidated to bring him in at all. I do think it benefited both parties that Nick Saban has the rule that assistant coaches don't speak, because when Lane Kiffin speaks, he usually says something. He's either putting his foot in his mouth or he's kicking off people inside that building. So that aspect worked of it pretty well, keeping him quiet. And I think Nick Saban realized that Lane set program records. Lane produced the Offensive Player of the Year in the SEC 3 times. He had a Heisman finalist. He had a Heisman Trophy winner. Listen, Lane Kiffin was, as a play caller, was brilliant, was great, no issues whatsoever. The issues came in when he was trying to balance his 2 jobs, and obviously he was distracted because I've watched that game again against Washington, and credit Washington, great defense, great game plan, but I can't figure out what Alabama was trying to do. There was a point in that game, Bo Scarborough had 12 rushes, and he was averaging 9 yards a carry, and the true freshman had 15 carries. The true freshman quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was out-rushing a guy who's 6'2", 230 pounds, who was averaging 9 yards a carry. I don't think there was any rhythm.
It was odd, no doubt. Or any of that. It was odd. Aaron Suttles with us here, Alabama beat man, Tuscaloosa News. So Lane Kiffin, no matter where he goes, his football genius is going to shine through in terms of play calling. What apparently Lane Kiffin has not necessarily tweaked is his inability to play nicely with others. So I ask you this, if you had to throw down a few bucks and project whether or not he's going to really make it work at Florida Atlantic, is this going to be an implosion? Or is this going to be a very different, route taken, a different road chosen here by Lane Kiffin? How does this go?
I'll say this. I think he's a brilliant offensive coordinator. I don't think he's meant to be a head coach. That's just my opinion.
Why not, though?
Yeah, and why does he keep getting shots?
Because he's almost like that celebrity status that he's famous for being famous. He's a great offensive mind, but the celebrity that comes with it is what gets him in trouble. And listen, guys, he's got to mature a little bit. When I look at him, I think he's a better fit for the NFL. I think he needs to be off a college campus, trying to run every aspect of a program. He needs to be an assistant coach in the NFL where he can just call plays. But he wants to be a head coach. I don't think he's cut out to be that, but we'll see what happens in Boca Raton.
Is he liked? You know what I mean? Do people like him?
Yes and no. I think he –
well, what an endorsement.
He's engaging, absolutely. But there are times when he needs to be told how pretty he is, how special he is, and that wears on people.
I got you. Talking to Aaron Suttles, Tuscaloosa News here on Tiki and Tierney.
What's going to happen with Coach Sarkisian now taking over the offensive play calling? Obviously they're very similar. They worked each other. They know each other well. At least that's what they say. But what's it going to feel like with Steve Sarkisian now as a coordinator in the national championship game? That's kind of odd, right?
Oh, it's hugely odd. I think Nick Saban will have more of his thumbprint, or at least more input on the offensive game plan. But as you mentioned, offensively, there's not a ton of difference between Kiffin and Sark. I do think the most troubling thing, if you're an Alabama fan, you've had a true freshman for 14 games has had the same voice in his ear.
Yep.
He looks to the sideline between every play. Lane Kiffin makes the audible form, makes the adjustments on the fly. And you guys, you played in any sport or even in any relationship you've ever had, communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
And you change any element of that communication, and there can be an adjustment period. But there's no time for an adjustment period because this is the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, and it's happening in less than a week. Has Sarkisian been able to be around the team in that capacity, or is it just happening this week? Because he was just an advisor.
He's not allowed to have any on-the-field coaching, so he's not been doing that. He's been in the box during games. This week he'll be on the sideline. So it's completely new. I know he's been around all year, but when Jalen Hurts looks over to the sideline, he looked for Lane Kiffin. Now he's looking for Steve Sarkisian.
Wow,
that's a big difference.
This is going to be odd. I mean, this has got to shift. I mean, BT is our resident sharp over here. He can set lines better than guys in Vegas sometimes. But this is going to shift how people perceive this championship game. It has to.
Oh, without question, because Kiffin, or rather Sark, is unknown. And you know what? It really, if I'm Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator at Clemson, it's a nightmare scenario because now I got to go pull tape from Washington and Southern Cal and just try to discern any differences between Kiffin and Sarkisian's offense on short notice. So it's not ideal for Alabama, not ideal for Brent Venables either.
You know, Aaron, for years we've tried to decipher, and we've played the guessing game. You know, is Coach K going to go back? Going to give the NBA a whack? Is Tom Izzo, some of the luminaries of college hoops, that always comes up. And obviously with Nick Saban, didn't work out great with Miami at all. We all wonder, you know, does Nick Saban give it one more shot in the NFL? You're around the program day to day. Do you think he is there long term, and has he fully scratched that NFL itch?
I think he is. I think, and there's a couple of reasons why. Because he can go out and get 25 draft picks every year, and he can be in control of that. And he picks and chooses who he wants on his team. You don't have that in the NFL. Also, and I know this is maybe minor, but it's a big deal in the relationship of that family. In the NFL, Terry Saban, his wife, doesn't really have a role. She's not a big deal if she lives in New York. In Tuscaloosa and College Town, Terry Saban may be the most famous woman in the city, and she's got a prominent role in recruiting, and she likes hosting and the families and the players. So I think for those reasons, and quite frankly, he'll get whatever he wants in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, he'll never say it. He wants to be viewed as the greatest college football coach of all time.
Yeah, do you think he will? Do you think he'll ever surpass Paul Bear Bryant, even if he matches him in national titles? Because obviously the era was different, and what felt good about Alabama as a state, and especially pertaining to this country, was brought by Alabama football into Bear Bryant. Can he ever really surpass him?
I think in Tuscaloosa, he can be viewed as the greatest college football coach of all time. He'll never, I don't care if he wins another 5 or 10, how many national championships he wins, he'll never be as beloved as Coach Bryant, because you get the sense, even though he's been here 10 years, you almost get the sense he's still a mercenary. He's paid high to be brought in. There's no love of the university. At least you don't get the sense like there was with Coach Bryant, who was so synonymous with Alabama. You don't get that sense with Nick Saban.
That's a good point.
I think for always, Bryant will be viewed more positively.
It's a very good point. It seems, even if it's not, it seems less pure. And listen, this kind of filters into conversations when we get into, you know, greatest player of all time in so-and-so sport. Like, I don't care what happens the next 30, 40, 50 years in baseball. I feel like, you know, Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and some of those older names, they're always going to just kind of linger because of the sentimentality that is passed down from generation to generation. I feel like we just judge our real-time athletes and coaches far more harshly than we ever did. They're at a big disadvantage in that regard.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Tuscaloosa, but Bryant's name's on the stadium. There's Bryant Drive. His wife has a university building named after her. The athletic dorms are Bryant Hall. The name Bryant is just synonymous with Tuscaloosa. It'll never reach that level for Saban.
Imagine if Kobe Bryant went there. Then what would you do? Then you'd have a real dilemma. You know? Aaron, really good information. I would encourage everybody listening to our show, and there's a lot of people across the country, just find you guys online, Tuscaloosa News, everything you need to know, the championship game, the Saban stuff. obviously the Kiffin stuff. Well done, Aaron. Happy New Year to you. Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great
All right,
day.
man. You got it.